Welcome back, everyone. We have a lot to break down in today's video because the crypto market is sending some very mixed but also very interesting signals right now, especially when it comes to Cardano ADA, Bitcoin dominance, and the overall direction of the altcoin market. Yesterday was definitely another frustrating session for investors after the market closed deep in the red once again, and a big reason behind that weakness came from the latest PPI inflation report that dropped in the morning and completely shifted sentiment across the broader financial markets. This video is for educational and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered financial or investment advice. Always do your own research before investing in cryptocurrencies or stocks, as the market is highly volatile and risky. I am not a financial advisor, and all opinions shared in this video are personal opinions only. The moment that report came out, risk assets started pulling back, traders became cautious again, and we saw pressure hit both crypto and equities almost immediately. But despite all of that negativity, despite the fear, despite the uncertainty, there are still some very important bullish signs forming under the surface that many people are completely ignoring right now. And honestly, this is where things start getting very interesting for ADA and the broader altcoin market moving forward. Before we dive into all of that, if you are new to the channel or you haven't already, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications so you never miss any updates, because we cover everything happening in crypto, stocks, and the broader financial markets every single day. Now, when we take a look at the market overall, yes, it has been rough. We have now seen 3 consecutive red days across crypto, and today also started slightly negative as well. Bitcoin opened the session slightly down, hovering around a very modest decline, while many altcoins were also struggling to gain momentum early in the trading day. But what is extremely important here is not necessarily the short-term price action itself, but how these assets are reacting to key support levels. This is something experienced traders pay very close attention to because in strong markets, assets usually pull back toward major moving averages and then attempt to stabilize before the next move higher. Right now, that is exactly what we are seeing with ADA and many other cryptocurrencies. Cardano has been pulling back toward its key support areas while continuing to hold above major technical levels, especially the 100-day moving average, which has become an extremely important line for the bulls to defend. Bitcoin is doing something very similar as well, trying to hold on to its 20-day moving average, which is another major sign that the broader structure of the market has not completely broken down yet. Now, of course, when we look at momentum indicators, things are not perfect right now. The RSI has cooled off significantly and moved back toward the middle range, which basically tells us that the market is no longer overheated after the previous rally. The MACD has also flipped bearish, and that naturally creates more fear among traders because historically, bearish MACD crossovers can sometimes lead to temporary downside pressure. On top of that, the stochastic RSI for Bitcoin has entered oversold territory, which usually suggests that short-term selling may have become overextended. But here is what is really fascinating. ADA and several other altcoins are actually holding up better than Bitcoin itself. Their stochastic RSI readings are not as weak, and that suggests that altcoins are showing relative strength despite all the fear surrounding the market. And when altcoins begin outperforming Bitcoin during periods of weakness, that is often one of the earliest signs that money may slowly begin rotating into the broader altcoin sector again. This leads directly into one of the biggest developments happening right now, and that is Bitcoin dominance. For those of you who may not fully understand why BTC dominance matters, it is essentially a measurement of how much of the total crypto market is controlled by Bitcoin. When Bitcoin dominance rises, it usually means Bitcoin is outperforming altcoins and attracting most of the capital. But when BTC dominance starts falling, that is when altcoins often begin to wake up and outperform the market. Yesterday, for the very first time since April 5th, when Bitcoin dominance originally broke out to the upside, we finally saw a meaningful breach below the 20-day moving average. That is a very significant technical event because it shows Bitcoin actually underperformed compared to many altcoins during the recent pullback. In other words, Bitcoin crashed harder than some of the altcoins did. And that is not something we have seen for quite a while. This is exactly the kind of setup traders look for when trying to identify the early stages of a possible alt season. Now, we are not fully there yet. Historically, a true alt season usually begins when around 75% of the top 100 cryptocurrencies outperform Bitcoin over a 90-day period. We have not reached that threshold yet, but the market is slowly moving in that direction. And if we start getting some positive macroeconomic news, some bullish crypto headlines, or additional institutional interest flowing into the market, this could very quickly turn into a much larger move for altcoins. That is why this current setup matters so much, because the technical foundation is quietly starting to improve beneath all the fear and negativity dominating social media right now. Another important factor traders are watching very closely is the CME gap situation for Bitcoin. We talked about this recently because CME gaps have historically acted like magnets for Bitcoin price action. Earlier, the downside CME gap was successfully filled, which was an important technical milestone. Now, the market's attention shifts toward the remaining upside gap sitting around the $84,000 region. If Bitcoin can stabilize around current support levels and begin pushing upward toward that zone, it could create a strong bounce opportunity not just for BTC, but for the entire crypto market, including ADA and many other altcoins. At the same time, liquidations across the market have remained relatively quiet this morning, which is also notable because it suggests traders are becoming more cautious rather than aggressively over-leveraged. At the macro level, there are also some important economic and political developments happening that could impact markets moving forward. Discussions surrounding expanded economic cooperation between major global players have reportedly intensified. And that is one reason why we are seeing so many high-profile business leaders and executives becoming involved in these conversations. Figures like Elon Musk and executives connected to NVIDIA Corporation have all been heavily discussed as these talks continue developing. Investors are hoping these negotiations eventually lead to stronger economic confidence and improved market sentiment overall. However, there are still concerns surrounding possible escalations and uncertainty, so traders remain cautious while waiting for more clarity. At the same time, there is growing attention around legislation and policy discussions that could potentially benefit the crypto industry moving forward. There have reportedly been concessions made from both political sides in an effort to push certain proposals forward, and many investors are hoping these developments eventually reach the Senate floor for formal voting. If that happens and we see favorable regulatory progress, it could become another major catalyst for Bitcoin, ADA, and the broader crypto market moving into the second half of the year. Now, specifically for Cardano, one of the most interesting bullish signals came from analyst Ali Charts, who pointed out a major shift in the SuperTrend indicator for ADA. According to his analysis, the SuperTrend indicator has historically been one of the most reliable tools for identifying major long-term trend reversals in Cardano. Back in September 2025, this same indicator flashed a sell signal that perfectly aligned with the beginning of a massive 73% decline in ADA price action. After months of heavy correction and sideways movement, the indicator has now officially flipped bullish once again, creating a fresh buy signal on the daily chart. That is a major development because it suggests the exhaustion phase of the downtrend may finally be ending, and a new reversal phase could now be starting. According to the analysis, if momentum continues building from here, ADA could initially target the 33-cent resistance zone before potentially pushing toward the 42-cent level afterward. The key support area remains around 25 cents, and as long as ADA continues holding above that floor, the broader bullish outlook remains intact. If support fails, then obviously the recovery could become delayed. But so far, Cardano has actually shown impressive resilience in that 24 to 25 cent range over the past month and a half. The fact that ADA spent such a long time consolidating there before beginning to break back above structure and reclaim the 100-day moving average is a very encouraging sign for bulls. It tells us buyers are still stepping in during weakness, even while fear dominates the market narrative. Overall, the market remains in a very delicate position right now. There are definitely risks, especially with inflation concerns, macroeconomic uncertainty, and ongoing volatility across global markets. But at the same time, there are also multiple technical signs quietly improving beneath the surface that could eventually support a much larger recovery for ADA and altcoins moving forward. Bitcoin dominance weakening, ADA holding structure, bullish technical indicators flipping positive, and stronger altcoin resilience are all developments worth paying very close attention to in the coming days and weeks. So that is going to wrap up today's update. If you enjoyed this video and found value in this breakdown, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below with your thoughts on ADA and the crypto market right now. Do you think Altseason is finally starting to build, or do you believe more downside is still coming first? Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.